Life is a marathon, it's not a sprint, and it's just a race against yourself. So you're really racing against nobody else. But even though it's a marathon, you might not have the endurance, you might not have the tools that you need to walk it through. So in this episode, we are going to talk about how to master life's journeys, how to ensure that you have the endurance when times get tough, when things feel stagnant, when you feel like there's no consistency and there's a bunch of uncertainty. We're going to talk about that today in today's episode. I'm Rickey Jasper, and this is the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. After getting laid off 2 times in 6 months, I realized I had to be chasing a greater vision in my life. I had to be walking into my calling. I spent time building up a successful fitness apparel business, and then now stepping back in front of camera to talk, to speak more, to hopefully inspire you to chase a greater vision in your life. And my goal with this podcast is for us to do it together. So let's make it happen. Welcome back to the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. I'm your host, Rickey Jasper. Today we have a great one for you. We're talking about how to persevere in life's marathon. In the marathon of life, your marathon is going to be different than anybody else's marathon. So it's not a race. You're not racing against somebody else because you're running your own race. Other people's races have things that they need to accomplish that they're going after. Yours is uniquely and specifically yours. But with any marathon, there's going to be hurdles. There's going to be times where you feel fatigued. There's going to be times where you need to speed up, where you feel like you can't. And there's going to be times where you have to believe in yourself or have a little bit of faith that you can step through life's marathon. And it's a journey. This whole thing of life, it's not stagnant. The only thing that's consistent is change. When you're running outside, you're running a marathon, the terrain is not always going to be the same. Sometimes you're going to be going up a hill, and that's going to be a little bit tough. Your heart rate's going to skyrocket. You're going to feel like you can't do it. Sometimes you're going to be coasting down a hill where you're going even faster, and your heart rate is going to be, decreasing. You're going to feel like, man, I really wish that all of this in life could be just like this, but that's not fully the case all the time. So now we're going to get into our head and heart hit segment. This is something that hit me in the head, made me think logically, hit me in the heart, made me feel a certain way. It actually comes from the book of Hebrews, Hebrews 12:1. It's a Bible verse. So here it goes. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders us and the sin that so easily entangles us. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Man, where that hit me in the head, there's so much to unpack there, but where it really started to hit for me was let us throw off everything that hinders us. And that's like, man, there's a lot of things that we're distracted with on a day-to-day basis, right? And then it flips into saying, the race that is marked out for us. So it's like, let's throw off distractions because it's distracting us in a race that is marked out for us. And before that, it says, let us run with perseverance the race. For me, I'm thinking logically like, man, where I need perseverance is there's going to be stuff that happens in my life that's going to come against me that I need some strength for. And there is a race that's set out for me. And it's set out for me. It's not set out for you. It's not set out for anybody else. You're not running it against anybody else. You are running it with yourself, for yourself, and you're going to have to persevere because in that race, there's going to be struggle points. There's going to be areas that you're going to need to be strengthened. But in order to have the perseverance, you have to throw off things that hinder you. I kind of think of it from an imagery standpoint. If I'm holding on and I have, a backpack on and I have, a lot of stuff, rocks in the back, things that I don't need, it's hindering me from running my race. What's hindering you, right? And then where it hit me in the feel standpoint was, man, there's things in life that are still, I have those rocks in my backpack that I need to throw out. And I've thrown out a lot of rocks and stuff that were hindering me from persevering because, I've started working out with a weight vest from time to time, and it hinders me, but in a good way, but it still slows me down. And that's great to use for working out for the purpose. But in life, the areas that hinder you, that that you need to get rid of, whatever that is, it's different for everybody. It's holding you down and it's causing you to not be able to persevere as much as you should be in a race that's set out and marked for you. So think of that, digest that, chew on that a little bit for an area that is specific to you. Because for me, I think about that on a daily basis. What action am I taking now? Is it a vote for my future? Is it a vote against where I'm trying to be? Is it something that's helping me? Is it something that's hindering me? Is it something that's weighing me down and not allowing me to persevere because it's just pulling me down? And is it something that is keeping me on course in the race that's marked out for me? And we're going to talk about that later as we get through, because You might be asking, man, well, what's the race marked out for you? This kind of just seems, who knows? And I am going to help you identify that. So that's going to be a pretty cool thing. So now we are going to get into our tips and tricks moment. This segment is just practical advice, practical things to help you with any topic that we have. Obviously, today is how to persevere. These tips are things that I've learned in my 32 years. They're things that I'm still learning. I'm walking through and I'm still understanding these things, but it's a disservice to myself. It's a disservice to you if I don't share what I've learned and I don't share how I'm learning it and I don't be open and vulnerable. So that is the purpose. Now, number one tip, the first thing to persevere through life is, number one, keep blinders on. And it goes back to that hindering thing. You have to be able to keep blinders on to stay focused. I think of a horse, right? So when I lived in San Diego, we would go to the horse races sometimes, and all the horses have blinders on, and they are running at blazing speeds. And I was like, man, like they're running really close together, but they're running their own race. And you have a jockey that is on the horse that is really focusing on where the horse needs to go. So that kind of goes back to the Bible verse, in my opinion. It's like the race that is set out for you. The horse is like, well, you can put me on any track, but what race am I running? The jockey's sitting there saying, I'm going to direct you in this race, right? But in order for the horse to not get scared, in order for it to not just get thrown off, it has to have blinders on. And those blinders are protecting the horse from outside sources that can throw you off from what you're doing. What's that for you? You know, you really have to think about that. What do you need to blind yourself from? For me, in my life, there were areas that I definitely needed to blind myself from, that I was just diving so deep into. First was social media. I was so wrapped up on social media. I was probably slightly addicted to social media and validation on social media and all that, probably 6-7 years ago, that it was like I needed the validation. And that threw me off, because instead of working on my craft, doing the things that I need to do, I was so tied up into what people thought about me on my phone, what girls I can get, who are DMing me on Instagram, what areas of my ego could be boosted in a very short span of time, what quick ways, that I could just elevate myself or think I'm elevating myself, that really wasn't doing anything for the race that I'm intended. So I had to start putting blinders on, right? And for you, it might be completely different, but what you definitely have to and need to do is identify where you need to blind yourself. Now, are you going to be perfect at it? If you have blinders on, can you not see everything? No. Is it going to take some time? Yes, it might, because a lot of these things are habit changes, but identifying areas that you're putting blinders on so that you can do what you need to do is important. But the reality is, if you are stopping in action or you're stopping something, you're going to need to replace it with something else, because you're going to have the spare time. When I was going through scrolling social media, DMing girls, getting a lot of DMs, all of that stuff, that was a lot of time that I was wasting and spending. When I stopped doing that, I had a lot of time on my hands. I had to figure out other things to do to put in that time so that I could do something different, so I could do something new, so I could do something that benefited me. So take out something that's the blinders on and then add in something. Because if not, when you have idle time, you're just going to revert back to what you naturally do, what's naturally comfortable. So that's number one. Number two is run, don't walk. I love this one. When I played basketball in high school and the college level, this term is called on the hop. And what that means is get to this next station quickly. And I kind of broke that down and constructed it, because when you're playing a sport, you're like, that's annoying because I'm tired and now a coach is yelling at me on the hop. I got to get to this next thing. But what it was doing was it's really making a case for you to move quickly and with purpose to the next task that is going to help you. I'm going to try to say that again. What it's doing is making a case for you to move quickly and with purpose to the next task that is going to help you and help you improve. So you don't want to walk there, because there's something there in that race for you that is specifically for you to get. So if you're just walking there, well, you might miss it because it might not be there. But if you are moving quickly to it and you're moving quickly to that opportunity, when you don't have time to get distracted if you're moving quick to it. You know, if I was just walking, it's like, all right, I can walk to get some water. I can walk and talk to my teammates. I can walk, I need to tie my shoe. I can walk and get distracted, do all these other things. But if I'm just moving to the next, to where I'm supposed to be, and, you know, I'm a little out of breath, but I'm like, I'm focused on this next, just getting there, and I want to get there so I can kind of gather myself before I'm stepping into the next task. So make sure you are running, and again, that might be a hypothetical thing, but what areas are you procrastinating? What areas are you dragging that you know you need to get to another place, but you're just dragging, and it's hindering you and it's pulling you backwards? So when I say run, don't walk, what I'm urging you to do is really, really assess where you want to be and look at any obstacles that are in your way to get there, and really trying to run through them, removing them and running through them and getting to a place quicker. In basketball, when you get to the next drill quicker and you consistently do that, what happens is there's a habit change, right? So when you're in game time, you know, moving quick is a natural thing, and moving quick with purpose, it makes sense. It's natural. It comes instinctively without you having to, you know, do some overhaul emotionally, mentally to get extra out of you. You've been drilling it every single day. What I think is a benefit and positive with myself now is, over time, I'm not scared of making changes. I'm not scared of making moves. I'm not scared of moving in a direction where I feel that God's called me to move, because I'm like, well, let me get to it on the hop, because I feel that it's going this way, which means that, hey, maybe over here you have something, some blessings, some grace for me to get there, and grace while I'm there. Let me get there quicker so I don't miss an opportunity. And if it's something that I thought about it wrong, if I made the wrong move, okay, at least I got there quick and I realize it's not the best area, so let me get out of it quick, right? You don't want to drag. You don't want to just waste time. You don't want to just kind of sit and be stagnant. So run, don't walk. Number 3, know where you're going. Now, you might ask, how do I know where I'm going? You basically told me to put blinders on. You told me to run, don't walk. And now I'm just running. And how do I know where I'm going? My dog Wink's a little over 2.5 when he was a puppy. He had the zoomies. He still does now from time to time. And if you don't have a dog, you might not know what the zoomies are. Basically, dogs have like this big burst of energy, and like they have to get it out, where it's like, you know, they just have to. They got to run. And typically what happens is they just run in circles, and it's like with no regard. And they're running as fast as they can. They get all the energy out. And, you know, typically it happens like before bedtime. And then they're just like, okay, cool. All the energy's out. I need to pass out. Now, they haven't gone anywhere, but they've tired themselves out. So you might be thinking, well, how does that affect me? Or how do I, you know, where does that include me? If you're in life, you're going somewhere. Even if you're sitting on the couch every single day, you're going somewhere. It might not be in a direction that you want to go, but you're going somewhere. So, and you're expending energy doing that. So a constant is you're going to be expending energy. And if that's the case, make sure that you're spending energy in a direction that you know where you're going. Now, again, how do we know where we're going? Or how do we know where we're supposed to go? I believe that God's given us all God-given abilities, gifts, and talents that are supposed to be used while we are here on this earth. I don't know what yours is. I know for me, I believe that I am a skilled speaker. I believe that when I talk, I can craft messages together that inspire and help people, or so I hope. So I have to use that. It doesn't matter what the outcome is, but I know that I have to use that. And if I'm not using it, I don't feel like I'm at an equilibrium. I feel like I'm leaving something on the table. I feel like even no matter how well I'm doing from a business standpoint and a tech standpoint outside of this, I feel like I'm cheating myself and others out of something that I'm supposed to be doing. Whatever that is for you, you have to do that. That is the race that you are supposed to run. Now, with that, where does perseverance come in with that? Because it's a gift, it's talent, it's ability, you know, it should be easy. No, that's often where the perseverance comes, because in order to figure out where this race is leading to and what's to come, you're running on the path, but you don't necessarily know all of the difficulties it is to hone a skill, to increase an ability. You know, areas in which I speak now on camera, I couldn't go for 25 minutes a year ago 5 years ago. So I really had to work on this, and I'm still working on it, right? Whatever your thing is, that's where the perseverance is going to happen, because you're going to hit some roadblocks, you're going to hit some stumbling, and as you get into it, you're going to have a bigger vision, for what your gift, where you can give it to, how big it can be, how many people it can help. And those are some of the stumbling blocks and some of the areas that you have to persevere, because those are going to be the challenge points. But there's always going to be a level of grace if you're walking in an area that you're supposed to be walking to in the race that is marked out for you. So make sure you know where you are expending your energy, because you're always going to be expending energy. To wrap this all up, and to kind of bring it back, number one, keep your blinders on. All the distraction stuff, yes, they can be fun from time to time. There are some things that you distract yourself with that every now and then in moderation, cool. I'm not here. I have no heaven or hell to put you in. Cool. But if it's a consistent indulgence that's taking you away from something, you got to get it out or limit it. Number two, run, don't walk. Consistently get in the habit of moving quick in a direction in purpose to a task that is there to help improve you. If you think of life like that, and if you think of these tasks, even if they're difficult, in basketball, going and doing the drill, didn't mean the drill was easy. The next drill was hard, and it was harder than being quick to get there. But it was meant to improve me when game time happened and when I couldn't save myself from any of the variables that were happening. It meant to improve me. And number three, know where you're going. You're going to get a level of an internal purpose by knowing what your God-given gift is, talent, ability is, and stepping in through that. It was given to you for a reason. I talk about this. Carly's she sews unbelievably. She never took classes to sew. Her mom taught her to sew a few things when she was younger, and then she started sewing masks in the pandemic, and now she's like one of the biggest things in sewing, and she follows no instructions. And it's just like, how do you have that skill? And it's like, I feel like God is like, that's your thing. Some people can just wake up and play the piano by ear, and it's like, how, or sing and all this stuff. That's your thing. Now, how you use it, that's your call, but your gift is going to give you some sort of internal direction and compass in which to push you in. And for our last segment, it's our word of the day, word of the week. Whenever you see this, you can stretch it. If it's for the day, great. If it's for the week, great. But it's easy. It's quick. And because we want to move quickly, you don't want to be slow. You don't want to be stagnant. I harped on that a lot in this podcast, but you want to be able to move quickly so you can figure out if you're moving in the right direction, because the quicker you move there and you're like, ooh, this isn't it, the quicker you're able to move away, the quicker you're able to get to where you need to be. So we are going to consistently persevere through our life. We don't have another option. We really don't. How we persevere, we can either sit and whine and moan and complain and not make any progress, or we can say this is going to be hard and some things are going to be hard and we have to figure it out, and we can do the best that we can with what we have, with what we're given on any single given day. So I hope this helps. If it did, please like, comment, subscribe, share, send a carrier pigeon. You'll probably see that in the trailer, intro, outro. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you all so much for watching the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. If you like this podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, send it to friends, use a carrier pigeon, do whatever you have to do. We hope that this inspires you to chase your greater vision in your life, and for us to continually and consistently do it together.